Today we're going to be talking about document order and stacking order. This is very important for the program, and as you can see there on the screen, it's also pointing out here that these two brackets on the keyboard change the grid. And just to show you what I mean when I say that, I'll do it right now. I'm using them, and the grid is becoming larger or smaller, and that's telling us what increment we will be moving in when we are using the keyboard. The smaller grid that you can see just now is the increment that we'll be using if we're using the mouse to draw in a new part or to move a part around like this. So that's what will happen. So whenever I'm using the mouse, it's going to be that small increment, and when I'm using the keyboard, it's going to be this larger increment, which I can control from the keyboard using those two keys. So that's very important, and when I move something from the keyboard, it immediately becomes right up against the grid line. So no matter what we had to begin with, like if we had this and it was a little bit off, it's not lined up with that grid line. And then I'm using H, J, K, and L, or the arrow keys to move around. You'll see when I use them, it goes immediately right over exactly to that grid line. And so if we have a larger grid line, we can see what happens. I'll do it again. It goes all the way over to the nearest grid line in the direction for the key that I've pressed. I like using H, J, K, and L because it keeps my hands both on the home row of the keyboard, but you might prefer the arrow keys because naturally it does make sense to consider the arrow keys as being a movement key. And so you can see it goes immediately in the direction that I'm traveling in, right against the grid line. So that's good to know, and then we have to use those keys again, the ones that change the grid size. So that can be done very easily, and we can move things around very easily. And you see now I used E to get into edge mode. And now when I press E the second time, it switches over to the other corner. So it's either the top and left, or it's the bottom and the right. And that's important to know because in order to manipulate these things from the keyboard, we had to split them up so that it works exactly this way. Because there really isn't any other good way that I can think of that we might have accommodated this situation. And now to return from edge mode back into move mode, we'll use G. That's a key you'll be using a lot if you're working from the keyboard. If you're working from the mouse, it's even simpler because you just click and drag with the mouse and you can move it around anywhere you want. For most situations, that's preferred, but there are some situations where the keyboard will actually be winning out. And so now let's proceed with the next part. So I've got it set up here. Let's see. Yep, there we go. G gives us move mode. So if I press G right now, here's what will happen. Oh, look. And now the border around the part has changed. And that's giving me a visual indication that I'm now in move mode again. So a very important thing is to remember the name of that key. It's the G key on the keyboard. It's very important because if you're in a different mode and you're trying to work from the keyboard, you might be confused when it just doesn't work. So let's see, if I'm in E mode, in edge mode, and I use the arrow keys, I can still use the arrow keys. They don't control the edge. Only H, J, K, and L will control the edge. So I can tell you, it's probably a good time to just get used to using those right there. H, J, K, and L. There are 4 keys, they're right in a row, and they're right there on your right hand when you're using it. So now let's just keep going here. So you can see here that there are 2 keys that choose the parts. And by that I mean that when you have more than one part, those two keys, and I'm showing the two little angled arrows or angle bracket keys because they're more identifiable, but it really is the period and the comma. But they're on the same key on most keyboards, so I just use that and say that it's the pointed arrows, but you don't press shift when you cycle between parts. And so let's go into a thing that I prepared already, and let's try it. Okay, so here I am. Now I'm in this, and to cycle between the parts, I'm using those arrow keys. And here I go. Now I'm cycling between the parts. They're all nicely lined up. I can go all the way to the bottom, and I can go all the way back up to the top. So that's pretty good. No major issue. So now that I've demonstrated that, I'm going to go over to a blank level that I haven't put anything into yet. And now just right from the top, let's see, how do we put in a part from the keyboard when we have nothing? So that's a question. So from the mouse, it's very easy. You drag anywhere on the screen, and you let go of the thing, and there you go. So you click and drag anywhere on the screen, you let go of it, and there you have a part. Brand new part, ready to go. Now, I'm going to get rid of that using the R key, which is going to put it into the RU buffer. I can return it by pressing U. I can get rid of it again by pressing R. But I don't want to discuss those buffers just yet. That might be the business of another tutorial. I guess we'll see. So if time is permitting. So the key I'm going to press now on the keyboard, or the combination, is going to be Shift N. And you can see there that immediately I have a box popping up, so I'll do it again. I'll get rid of it. Shift N. And I'll get rid of it again. And now I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to change the size of the grid. Can you see that? I'm changing the size of the grid that I'm working at from the keyboard. And now again, I'm going to use Shift N, and we'll see what happens. Oh, look. The box is the size of the grid. So whenever I'm using Shift N to input a new rectangle, a new HTML rectangle into the program, we're going to input it at the size of the grid. So if I make the grid even larger, then what happens? I have a rather large rectangle coming in now, and let's see how big it can go. Oh, that was the biggest one. Okay, so there I have it, and now I'm in G mode. I'll just press G again just to make sure, and now I can move around. But look, the increment that I'm moving in is the same as the box that I've made. So that might not always be the best, so we can take it down. And now it's smaller, it's about half. We can take it down a little bit more. We can move it around. So you see I'm using H, J, K, and L, but you could use the arrow keys to move around. And then again I'll demonstrate with the E key. I'm going to use E, and if you think about it as representing the word edge, that'll probably be for the best because that is specifically and visually what it actually is. And now I'll use H, J, K, and L just to move this thing. You can make it bigger, smaller. You can make a tall, slender one like that. G, I pressed, and now I can move it around. Then I'll press E again, and I can move it. I can make it the size of the screen. You can do all sorts of moves there with the E key. And so you can also see that, what if I use the other side? So see, I can now use the top and the left I can change, or it's the bottom and the right, but not both at the same time. So it's split like that, and it makes a lot of sense to split it like that. And so now, for the purpose of the tutorial, just to speed things along and give a bit more of a demonstration, I'm going to now demonstrate and talk about some other keys that you need to use, and it's going to be the V key and the Z key, or the Z key. Now, those are important keys in the program when you're working from the keyboard or if you're working from the mouse. So I'm going to go into the level here that had all these parts. Well, look at that. And now we know that the pointy brackets, right, or the dot and comma, are allowing us to move back and forth between these parts, which is good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and press the V key just to show what comes up. And I built something here that'll just give a little bit of a visual so you can see sort of what's happening. When you press V, you're reassembling the document order. So I'll press it and you can see, oh look, I press it again. The letter V is appearing on each part. I just put that there so you have something visually for the purpose of the tutorial. When I press V, it goes like that. So we have from the top left, it's going along, all the way down until it gets to the bottom right. So we can see that it is in a very nice order. That's good. And now, just as a little demonstration, so I'll press the Z key, and that didn't do too much, did it? What even happened? That's what we have to ask. What even happened there? Did anything happen? So now let's just see if we can move it around with the mouse, just to demonstrate. Aha. Yes. Well, something happened. Hard to tell what. But we have some things on top of other things. So that's interesting. And what about this one? Okay, we have that there. That's good. But now let's try using Shift Z. And let's see if anything's different. And it should be. So it should be that these will now be with one clearly, completely on top of the other. And so I'm going to put them in some kind of an arrangement so you can kind of see that when we use Shift Z, what happens is we end up with, and I'm holding down Shift with the mouse when I move the entire color group. Holding down Shift with the mouse. And then I can move it around, the whole group. You see, so that's a convenience as well. The same thing is also available with the keyboard, so I'll just go over that. I know I'm switching topics a little bit here, but if I hold down Shift and then use H, J, K, and L from the keyboard, I can then move around that entire group that was attached to that color there. And I can get to the next group, so I can move all of those groups just independently from each other. You see, so without affecting the other group. So let's see, I'll just put them back in a nice assembly again so that we can demonstrate. So let's see, let's open up the menu here just to change something up. Let's clear the Z index. So we have Z index here. This is one thing we can't do from the keyboard yet. Clear the Z index. Let's get rid of it. See if that changed anything. Didn't change anything. Now let's click this. This does the same thing as the V key. Let's try clicking that. And now let's try clicking it holding Shift. Oh, something different happened. And now we can see over here in this menu, so something different did happen. But why, right? Why did that happen? And what is it that happened? But we can see here that all of the white blocks are up there at the top. And so just to point it out, it's in an HTML document, you have a document ordering. Now, the reason that I've made it this way is so that you have a very good control with three different parts. You can have a foreground, middle ground, and a background visually in the Z index. And so this might seem a little bit heavy for some people. It might not you might not understand it completely, but in the Z index, the stacking order, what you essentially have, and let's just go ahead and put it. So what you essentially have is you have the blue one is always the top. The gray one here is always the middle, and the pink one is always the background, basically. So that's what we have. But then the flow order, the document flow order that the search engine will encounter this document at is given over here in this little menu here, where I'm rolling up and down with a scroll wheel, and you can see that the part that's in white is first. in the document order. So you might look here and think, oh, look, well, this pink one here, that one's first because it's the highest up and it's on the left, which is true. So visually, it's in a specific position, but in terms of the document, when we save it, it actually will not be first. It'll be second. Everything that's white or gray will be first. Then after that, it'll be these pink ones, and then after that, it'll be these blue ones. Now, we didn't have to do it that way, so let's press V alone and see what happens. Now the order's changed. And now we can see over here, we can confirm it, the document order has changed completely, and now we have the pink ones first. So the visual representation that we see here on the screen is actually, just to make it even more clear, is like that. Pretty much like that, right? So the one that's first in the document is that one now. So just to show it one more time now, let's use Shift V, and we see that we're back in the situation where this gray one is actually the highest. It's number 1. And so the reason that's important in HTML is because it gives us a measure of control over what the search engine will encounter first, or what the browser will read first when it's looking through the parts that we put. So more often than not, the most important thing for the search engine to find is whatever written text you have. And so if you're writing something like a news article or any type of article, a blog or anything, you're going to want to have your textual stuff inside of one of these gray ones. So you're going to want it to have the gray color. And then your primary images, you might put them in gray, but just for argument's sake, you would maybe want to put them in pink. And then images that are not important to you, you'd want to put them in blue, just for example. And depending on the colorations you choose in the program, you might have different colors than this. You might have changed them to something else. So from the mouse, you can change the color of something very easily by clicking over in this little menu here, that menu there. I can click pink, and suddenly that one becomes pink, right? And now it's in the pink group. If I change it back to white, now it's back up there in the white group, because we have it semi-automatic on the document flow. So that's probably a little bit complicated, but if you don't understand what it means, it probably doesn't matter that much. But if you do understand what it means, have a little look at that and just give it a bit of a think, and you'll understand that that's actually a very good thing, that we have a difference between the Z stacking order and the document flow order. They're not the same, so we don't make the Z index order line up exactly with the document flow order. We actually have it a little bit different. So the pink one will end up being, as we've demonstrated, using Shift and then Z. If we're using Shift Z, if we're using something else, then if we're using just Z, then it won't. But if we use Shift Z, we then have the pink one being the background, the gray one being the middle ground, and the blue one being the foreground, which will be the closest to you. You see, so that's actually a very important thing that we have, and it's very, very good that we have it that way. And I'm going to close that little menu. Let's see, how do I do it? Yeah, there we go. I'll use the backtick or tilde. That closed and opened that menu from the keyboard. So now, just a further demonstration using the visualization that I set up earlier. Let's press V again, and let's see what happens. Okay, it starts at the top left, it works its way across. Now let's press Shift V, because it's going to be different, and we'll see what happens. Ah, you see that? I'll do it again. Aha, you see it started here because this was the first in the document now. Even though it's not at the top, it's the first in the written document that we're producing. And when I press Shift V, we see that it starts there. Then it works its way up to this one here, Shift V, I'll show it again. And then the final row that it goes to, the final color, is this one down here, the blue color. Now, just to be extremely clear, the colorations that you're seeing right now will not be the colorations in the finished document, but they represent colorations that are used for the purpose of exactly this in the program, and for the purpose of doing things like moving things around. So let's see, I think we've covered everything there. That's pretty good for a single tutorial, and that might just be the end. So well done, tutorial over.